Let's explore some really faraway and amazing buildings together. Imagine a small town where everyone lives in just one big building. And then picture a secret vault that can rescue all of humanity if something really bad happened. Today, we're going to learn about some of the most isolated and incredible buildings around the world. We'll uncover how they managed to construct the tallest building in Europe, which is taller than 3,500 meters. And have you ever wondered why a research station in Antarctica can move? Let's discover the answers. And we're kicking off with the fifth building on our list, an entire town that fits under a single giant roof. Number 5. A whole town under one roof. Let's explore a unique town called Whittier in Alaska together. This town isn't super far away, but it might feel that way because of its interesting setup. It's about 90 kilometers from a big city called Anchorage. In Whittier, there's something really special. A big building called Baggage Towers right in the middle of the town. Now here's the cool part. Almost everyone in Whittier, which has around 270 people, lives in this one 14-story building. Isn't that interesting? But how did this happen? Well, the story goes back to the year 1953 during a time called the Cold War. Back then, because Alaska is close to Russia, the United States built military places in this region. And in Whittier, they made this big building for the U.S. Army and their families to live in. This building was used by the military until around the 1960s when things changed. Whittier officially became a city, and the building was given a new purpose. You see, a company that managed trains and tracks in Alaska got a lot of the land around Whittier, so regular people who wanted to live there couldn't easily find places to live. But when the military left, the building became a home for the people of Whittier. Over the years, the town's population went up and down, but this one building stayed the heart of the town. Even important things like the post office, police station, and school are inside this building. And guess what? There's a church, a store, a place to do laundry, a clinic, and even a bed and breakfast in the top part of the building. Someone who lives there mentioned that you could spend almost a whole year without leaving the building because it has everything you need. But now, let's move on to another place that's a bit more remote. Excited to learn more? Number 4. The loneliest house in the world. Let's dive into a fascinating story about the loneliest house in the world. Every now and then, a picture of a small house in the middle of nowhere becomes really popular online. This house seems all by itself, with no other buildings nearby. People have come up with all sorts of crazy ideas about it. Some say it's a spooky house where aliens or ghosts live, while others think a super rich person built it to hide from zombies during an apocalypse. But here's the real scoop. The truth isn't as wild as those theories. The picture is from a small island called Elliday in the southern part of Iceland. Even though the house looks super isolated, the island itself isn't that far from the coast. It's part of a group of islands called the Westman Islands and is only 8 kilometers away from the mainland. You could actually take a boat tour from a nearby island called Jaime to visit Elliday. About 300 years ago, 5 families used to live on this island, surviving by fishing and hunting. But by the 1930s, all of them had moved away in search of better opportunities. After that, the island became a popular spot for hunting groups who wanted to hunt puffins, which are native birds in that area. Now, here's the cool part. The mysterious house was actually built as a hunting lodge in 1953 by a group called the Elliday Hunting Association. They wanted a cozy place to stay during their hunting trips. So the house isn't a hideout from zombies or a home for aliens. It's a hunting lodge. This shows us that even though the house looks super lonely, there are actually other buildings in more remote places. And guess what? Our next story is about another building in an even trickier spot. Exciting, right? Number 3. The top of Europe. Get ready to explore an incredible place way up in the Swiss Alps. The Swiss Alps are like a picture-perfect postcard with snowy mountains and amazing hiking trails. And guess what? Right up in those snowy peaks, there's a special place called an observatory. Think of it like a science station for looking at the stars and the sky. But this observatory is super high up, even higher than any other human-made building in Europe. It's called the Sphinx Observatory, and it's perched at a whopping 3,571 meters above the ground. To put that into perspective, it's like stacking almost 12 Eiffel Towers on top of each other. This observatory wasn't just magically placed there. It was actually built a long time ago, in 1937. But the coolest part is that it can only be reached by a special kind of train. Before the observatory was built, There was a big railway project in the works called the Jungfrau Railway Project. This railway was a big deal because it aimed to be the highest railway in all of Europe. The project started way back in 1896 and took 16 years to finish. Imagine working on something for 16 whole years. The workers had to dig tunnels through the tough mountain terrain, and sadly, more than 30 workers lost their lives during this challenging work. The railway's final stop is at a place called Jungfrau, which people like to call the top of Europe. It's really high up at 3,454 meters. They used this railway to carry all the stuff needed to build the Sphinx Observatory. Since it was finished, the Sphinx Observatory has become a hotspot for scientists to study all sorts of things, like weather and stars. It's like a mini city of research in the sky. And guess what? Tourists love visiting too, because the observatory has platforms where you can stand and see breathtaking views of the Alps, stretching all the way to countries like Italy and Germany. But even though this observatory is way up high and can only be reached by train, there are still even more remote places on Earth, like buildings at the North and South Poles. Ready to learn more? Let's keep exploring. Number 2. The Doomsday Vault of Norway. Let's go on an adventure to Norway and discover something really special, the Doomsday Vault. Imagine a place way up in snowy mountains, about 1,300 kilometers from the North Pole. It's like a secret entrance in the middle of nowhere, and you might wonder why it's there. Well, the answer is quite interesting. This place was built in such a remote spot because it's super safe. There are no big movements in the Earth's crust. It's really cold, and it's away from all the problems happening around the world. So what's inside this mysterious entrance? The Norwegian government spent around $9 million to create a massive bunker. It's like a super secure storage room for seeds. These seeds are like tiny life capsules that can help plants grow. The idea is that if something really bad happens globally, like a huge disaster, these seeds will be safe and ready to help plants grow again. This special place is called the Svalbard Global Seed Vault. It's not too far from an airport called Svalbard Airport, which is actually the northernmost airport where regular planes fly. The Seed Vault was built in 2008 and holds more than 900,000 different types of seeds from all over the world. Some of these seeds aren't even used for farming yet, but they have important DNA that can help create new types of plants. The entrance to the Seed Vault is like a tunnel that goes deep into a mountain, around 130 meters deep. Inside, there are 3 storage rooms where seeds are kept. It's really cold in there, even colder than your freezer at home. This super cold temperature helps the seeds stay alive for a really long time, like over 1,000 years. And guess what's cool? Even if there's a power outage or something bad happens outside, the icy mountain will keep the temperature low and protect the seeds for many, many years. But now, get ready for the next adventure. We're leaving the North Pole and heading to the South Pole to learn about something called the Walking Research Station. It's a place that's even more remote and can only be reached during a specific time of the year. Excited to learn more? Let's go! Number 1. The Walking Research Station. Explore Antarctica, the coldest place on Earth. Imagine freezing minus 40 degrees Celsius temperatures, powerful winds at 200 kilometers / and a giant 2,500 meter thick ice sheet covering the highest point. It's extreme. Antarctica is dark for almost a third of the year and has no native people due to its tough conditions. But it's a hotbed of science. With 70 research stations, scientists study diverse topics. One standout is the Halley Research Station, led by the British Antarctic Survey. Perched on the Brunt ice shelf, this station's on a floating ice chunk as thick as a skyscraper is tall. Its unique feature? It moves like it's on giant skis. Older Halley stations got buried or too close to ice edges. Enter the Halley VI, a mobile marvel built on huge skis. It's like a lab on the go. Halley VI is a high-tech research city with 8 modules. A central hub for hanging out, surrounded by sections for living, working, and experimenting. These pieces were built in South Africa and assembled in Antarctica. Halley VI moved in 2017 due to shifting ice. It's now home to scientists worldwide, 14,000 kilometers from the UK. They study climate, atmosphere, and space weather in this isolated realm. Would you brave the journey to this icy wonderland? If you enjoy this, like and subscribe to Top Futuristic. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more.